Well, good morning. There you are. I have been looking for you. We have to talk about the 14 freeway. It is the Hometown Morning Show with Tori and Kyle, 8:38. I also have a special guest in studio. Yeah, he's my buddy, Richard Szerman. We're going to talk about houses and loans and horrible things that can happen and that he can fix. Do you have your Superman cape today?
I do. I wear it every day.
You wear it every day. Good.
It's a little weird in Walmart, but otherwise.
Southbound side of the 14th. Still a little heavy from Golden Valley in toward Plaza Rita. It looks like there's some construction that's getting ready to go on in the area. So you have some signs and you have some officials on scene. 5 looks great. 405 slows in through the Sepulveda Pass. No big deal. A mix of sun and clouds today. Highs in the 60s, upper 60s, low 70s. It is sunny. 48 degrees currently here in New Ulm.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Well, there he is. There he is. Superman himself.
Yeah, sure.
Richard Szerman. Richard Szerman. You know, listen, let's talk about your last name. Because
Okay.
I don't know. I love your last name. It's, we say Richard Szerman, and I think people think of Sherman. Like,
Yeah, well, we spell it with a Z because we just like to be different.
I love that. It's S-Z-E-R-M-A-N.
Yeah. It's I'm told it's Russian Polish ancestry. The rest of my family has all changed it because they wanted to change it because it makes sense to change it because the Z does not have the sound of an H. But we decided to leave it that way just to be different because it's always fun to find files.
I love that you're different. I love it. Okay.
I am that.
So, Richard
So many
Szerman,
ways.
if you don't know about Richard Szerman, first of all, shame on you. You need to know.
No, thank
And the reason you need to know is because he can help you if you are in a bit of a bind as
Yeah.
far as the real estate market is concerned. And you want to explain, do we have a topic, by the way, today? Are we going to talk about something?
Whatever topic you would like. I'm fluent in all these things, so it's fine with me. No, I have we help people who are in trouble. If you're having trouble with a mortgage, you're in danger of foreclosure. If you just have real estate questions, just ask. We do this stuff for free. We've been doing it for many, many years. We're awfully good at it. And again, I keep saying we do this for free, so it's just we're never more than a phone call away. And unfortunately, in real estate, and especially now, because whenever there's anything that happens, and national, international pandemic will do that. Things get even crazier.
I was going to ask, we're 11 months into this thing, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think all of us have had a scare. You had a scare.
yeah.
I think everyone's had a scare or has had it. How is this really affecting the real estate market? Have people been moving in and out of the area? Have more houses gone up for sale? How is it?
Well,
just the general climate.
Sure. Well, it's actually kind of, I was thinking about you said in the weather report today, it's a mixture of sun and clouds, which is kind of what the real estate market is at the moment. The sunny part would be that prices are way up in most of the market, not all of it, but most of the market. I mean,
And
ridiculously up.
why? And
Low
because you
interest
say
rates.
ridiculously up. Why?
We're talking average about 14% in our area over the last year because you have a mixture of low inventory because people don't want to put their houses on the market because if you don't want to or don't have to right now, you probably wouldn't because of COVID. Strangers coming through your house is not exactly the best way to handle a disease outbreak. You have a choice, but at the same time, because there is low inventory.
You do crack me up.
Well,
the comments that you make are just you crack me up. Okay, continue.
Oh, thank you. In any case, so you have low inventory caused by COVID, and you have very, very low interest rates because that was the Trump administration. Not technically supposed to be the administration, but it was dropping the interest rate the way they did and giving us no place else to go. They sort of bottomed it out really quickly.
Okay.
Which was very good for the housing market. But when you talk about a market that was already set for a decline and you artificially pump it up, you create a bubble. And I promise you, we will all be referring to this in real estate a year from now as the COVID bubble. Remember the COVID bubble when anything you put on the market sold instantly and it sold for all? That's what we'll be referring to it as. I wanted to call it the Rich Szerman bubble because I thought of it and I wanted to coin the phrase, but my wife said I couldn't do that. That sounded too arrogant even for me. So we're going with COVID bubble. That's what we're calling it. So if you have, for example, if you have a normal, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family home in the Santa Clarita Valley, you are in great shape. The value of your property's gone up a lot recently. If you're in a community that's over 55, not so much. If you're a first-time buyer, you're crying in your beer because you can't get your hands on anything. I have lots of clients who would like to sell and buy another property but can't find another property to sell because they're priced out. We're routinely seeing properties that are going 30, 40, even 50, 60. We saw one in Thousand Oaks the other day go $100,000 over asking.
Wait a minute. Wait a second. Whoa. What?
House was listed at $800,000 and it sold for $900,000. They had 17 or 18 offers in the 24-hour period. It wasn't that nice a house. I mean, it was lovely. It was available. It certainly wasn't worth the $900,000 it sold for. The buyer's going to have to bring cash in because they're not going to be able to get an appraisal. But that's the kind of nonsense we're seeing. There are the few people who can take advantage of this market are, and they should, on both sides of that fence. And there's nothing wrong with that. My concern is how much longer it's going to take, because putting off what was supposed to be a market adjustment this long because of COVID creates a bubble, and when it pops, it's going to hurt more. The fall is going to be that much greater, I fear. And
what are we looking at? Is it, you say a fall? What are you predicting? What are you predicting?
The market should have corrected somewhere on the order of about 6 to maybe 8%, starting in the third or fourth quarter of last year. That's what should have happened. That's what the market trends were heading. But trends are only as good as what actually happens. So, and then COVID created a situation where the interest rates dropped, and those were sort of pushed back, and then the market went up. So it went the opposite, but yet all those underlying factors are still there. So if we were up for a 6% drop that didn't happen, and we've now come up 14%, when the market corrects, the bottom is probably going to be about 20%.
Eeks.
So, and that's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. And what we're seeing most these days, as far as foreclosure defense, which is the craziest stuff that we're seeing, is banks are engaging in this really curious mixture of arrogance and ignorance that is just in full effect. I haven't seen it like this crazy since maybe 2004, 2005. Because they're all doing refis like crazy, they're making lots of money doing refis, so that component of the bank's business is just off the charts. But yet their mortgage servicing is in the tank because so many people are in forbearances or trying to get deferments or in trouble. And we're seeing crazy stuff. I'll give you a really good example. All the banks, all of them, will tell you if you are in a forbearance, meaning you got permission from the bank not to make your payments, and you go for you ask them how.
Now, a forbearance. Let's just be clear. Please. A forbearance, because I think you taught me this before. We add the payments on at the end.
Yeah, well, a forbearance just means you don't have to make the payment and there's no penalty.
Gotcha.
A deferment is when they add it to the end.
Gotcha.
So those two words are kind of important, because forbearance just means you're not making the payment, you're not going to get in trouble, no danger of foreclosure while it's in effect. Deferment means you're going to take the lump sum and add to the end, which banks should love, because banks make money on how much you owe, and if they take the amount, including the interest, but no penalties, and put it on the end, you owe more on the house, ergo they make more money on each one of these loans. So you would think banks would like that. But we're having trouble getting deferments out of some of the banks, especially the smaller ones, your SLS, your SPS, guys like that, any initial type banks, the servicers. But the bigger problem we're seeing is if you're in a forbearance and you're having trouble making your mortgage payment, well, it probably makes sense to go to your bank and say, hey, before I come out of this forbearance and get sent to foreclosure, how about we work out a modification or something now? And what every bank will tell you is, well, you have to, in order for us to consider that, you have to drop out of the forbearance. The obvious question is, well, if I drop out of the forbearance, can you promise me you won't send me to foreclosure? Can you promise me I'll get the modification? No. Well, if I go to try and do this and it's unsuccessful, remember, they're the ones who decide who succeeds or fails here. If it's not unsuccessful, can I go back into forbearance? No. So basically what you're telling me is I got to roll the dice based on how I feel about it, the little information I get from the bank, and what somebody like me is telling them. And that's the position they're putting people in. And so what a lot of people are doing, and I think rightly so, a lot of it out of fear, is just saying, well, okay, then I'll wait to do a loan modification. I'll just sit on my forbearance for another 6 months, letting the amount I owe pile up and pile up and pile up. And I'll just wait. And because I don't want to risk it, because I've already got so many other things. I'm out of work. I don't want to risk, losing the house during a pandemic.
Sure.
And it's completely ridiculous. And that's the kind of stuff we're seeing. We've got one client who we've talked about before. The bank has routinely made mistake after mistake. It's been going on for a year and a half. He's a cancer survivor, and just all sorts of wrong stuff in his history, unfortunately. And so we're just trying to get the house done as a short sale. Bank takes what they're other. We've agreed to the short sale, but then when the bank does, they take 6 or 8 months to respond, and then come back and say, well, where's the buyer? And we say, hey, the buyer left 3 months ago. We told you that. You've not responded. They've made mistake after mistake after mistake. And then what happens is they say, well, we're not going to do this now because it's taken too long. But you've been responsible for all of the delays and all of the mistakes. Well, yeah, that may be so, but it's taken too long. I mean, that's completely and utterly ridiculous. And again, haven't seen that kind of stuff since 2004, 2005. And we're seeing it over and over and over again. There are very few files that we have in my office right now, and we've got a ton of them, that are going the way they would have been handled a year and a half ago, or even a year ago. Because the banks have not really adjusted, certainly their asset loss divisions have not adjusted to COVID. It's ridiculous. And they're going to come out, a lot of people are going to be in trouble coming out of COVID. That should not be.
And dude, it's been 11 months. Like, come on. We have a vaccine. We can't, get the banks together and get on the same page. Come on.
I will share with you an analogy that a senior vice president at one of the larger banks gave me the other day, because it's been on my mind. He described it as, if one car got into an accident in your neighborhood, A police car or two might show up and a fire truck might show up. Now, if 105 cars got into an accident in your neighborhood, every fire department, every police officer in town would show up. And what he was telling me was they're not making the required changes now because it's not bad enough. They want, this is just my view of it, they want to be able to go to the Fed and say, oh, just like 2008,
Right.
we've lost all this money, so we need a bailout, otherwise the system will collapse and it'll be anarchy everywhere.
Right.
And no doubt the U.S. government will write them a very, very large check, and no doubt they will do it with very little oversight, just like last time. And last time, for those of you listeners who don't know this, when that $1.3 trillion went into the banking system to stabilize the economic crash of 2008, the banks went, geez, how do we count that kind? That's so impressive. You know what? Let's call it profit. And since they categorized it as profit, tax-free profit, I might add, all of their shareholders got paid. We're all going to be losing money. All of their executives got paid. So there's a built-in incentive to see if they can do that again.
Yeah.
So they're trying to make the car accident, to extend on my friend's example, they're trying to make the car accident as nasty as they possibly can because that's when everybody shows up.
Yeah.
And that's what they're looking for. And that's a horrible, horrible way to behave to the consumer because it treats them as if they are not people. It treats them as if they are simply numbers on a balance sheet. As if
Well, they
losing
are.
their home
I
doesn't
mean,
count. Well, to them, yeah.
Yeah, to them they are. And
Yeah.
but you
We fight back.
you fight back. And
Amen.
if we need you to fight back, how do we what's the best way to get in
Just
touch with you?
As always, I know I get a lot of flack for saying this, but just call me on my cell phone. My
Mm-hmm.
cell phone goes off a lot, often at inopportune times, which is totally fine. I really don't mind.
And you're still married.
I am, and my wife, we're good with this. It's been we're actually coming up on almost 30 years now that we've been
There
together.
you go.
Which I think is a massive achievement. I'm
Bless her
curious.
heart for putting up with
Yeah,
all
how
that,
does
right?
she do that? I
I
don't know.
don't-
It's just patience, unbelievable patience.
I think the
don't
next time
understand
we have to have her come in
I
and,
keep
and
trying.
chat.
I keep trying. She's the brains of the outfit. She's the attorney.
What is
But
that? What is that beloved phone
my
number?
phone number is 661-714-1400, and you can literally call that number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 661-714-1400. If I don't answer, just text me.
Yeah.
I promise I will get back to you. I promise I will. And I try to return all calls within the same day if I possibly can. And don't be afraid to call at 2 in the morning, because that's often when this happens.
I
People
might
start to
try
freak
that
out.
one of these days. You've been saying that for years.
Go ahead.
I think I might try it.
Go ahead. If I'm that fast asleep, I won't answer. You'll be able to leave a text. I'll call you in the morning. If I am up, I'll be happy to talk to you.
Richard Szerman, always a pleasure. It's Richard
thanks for having
Szerman.
me.
Szerman,
With a Z.
Szerman. Thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of your
You
week,
too.
will you?
Thank you for having me in.